This is what I'm talking about today. The Faceless. Autotheism. Okay. To start off with, wow. The Faceless, gotta say, they're one of my favorite death metal bands, and a pretty huge influence on my own personal style of writing death metal music. So needless to say, I was psyched as fuck for this album. Like, the day it came out, I was like, Andy, you need to buy this for me. I'll pay you back. Like, 'cause you're gonna be close to the store. And he's like, he called me back. He's like, dude, they didn't have any copies. I was like, ugh. And then he, like, walked in the door when we were gonna hang that day. And he's just like, I'm like, fuck you, you troll. But anyway, that's aside from the point. Okay, gonna start the track-by-track list. If you've seen my videos, all 12 of you, you know the deal. Click the Faceless logo to skip to me talking about just the album in general. Okay, so, track 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, this album starts out with something called the Autotheist movement, which can essentially be considered the title track. Autotheist movement number 1, create. Autotheist 2, Autotheist movement 2, emancipate. And Autotheist movement 3, deconsecrate. But the thing is, all 3 of these parts, they're really parts more than they are individual songs, because they flow as one big 17-minute and 40-second long song, which is fucking incredible, because I love that kind of stuff. I love long, huge, progressive pieces of music like this. So, needless to say, when this leaked and I heard it in its entirety, my jaw was on the floor the entire time. This is easily one of the best songs that I've heard all year. And it starts out with sort of, well, the create section, basically. It starts out with sort of pseudo-symphonic, kind of cinematic things. And then the guitars just come in and it just explodes in a pure melodic kind of epicness. And then Michael Keane's vocals start, and he starts trading off with their new growling vocalist, and it's just epic. And it flows perfectly into the next movement, or part of the movement, which is easily my favorite, Emancipate. Oh my god. There's this one section, and before that section even, there's a section where everything drops out, and there's just fucking babies crying and shit. It's just disturbing as fuck. It's unnerving as hell, but then, like, there's this riff that starts and then builds up in intensity when there's, like, this symphonic backlay to it, and oh my god. Everything about this part is just incredible. It's hard to describe. There's a part after that where, like, Michael Keane's vocals really sound like they were taken a bit from the song The Mighty Masturbator off Devin Townsend's Deconstruction album from last year, which I also love. But that's a topic I'm going to get to at the end. But after that, after all this insanity, this symphonic chordal and riffing epicness, and this incredible solo that closes off this section, everything drops down at the beginning of Deconsecrate, and there's a B3 organ riff, and that's panned to one side, and then the guitar, Michael Keane's guitar line comes in. It's like, it's really slow and melodic. And on the other side, like in your other ear, you hear some strings. So it's like organ, guitar, strings. And just the way that mixes is really cool in your ears. And then Michael Keane starts singing, like, God is dead, let your sacraments wield. And then the riffs just become everything that you know and love about the Faceless. It's fast, it's fucking crazy, it's relentless and weird, I guess. Because, I mean, a lot of death metal, tonally, is kind of weird in general in music and stuff, but then the song just advances from there until it gets into a fucking saxophone solo. Yeah, the sexy sax man like, from the internet, plays a sax solo on this song. And after that, there's a fretless bass riff, which instantly gave me an erection, because fretless bass is the most sexy sound in the whole fucking world. Maybe that's just because I'm a bass player, but I don't know. The entire song is just absolutely fantastic. It's the opus of progressive metal for this year, much in the way that I feel Iconoclast by Symphony X was for last year. But anyway, I'm going to close with this, though. My one gripe with this song, it's really kind of a tiny thing, but I've noticed it throughout this record a lot, is I see a ton of, or I hear, rather, a ton of bits and pieces throughout this song and some of the other songs on the record that remind me a ton of bits that happen in, like, other bands' music. Michael Keane's vocals on that one part of Emancipate I was talking about really remind me of something Devin Townsend did on Deconstruction. And there's a part where, like, everything drops out in Emancipate before the epic riff that I was talking about comes back in that reminds me a bit of something that might happen on the Periphery debut. But there's, like, a ton of musical references and things that I hear that I'm going to put down in the comment box because I just can't think of them right now. It's late. But they kind of feel like they were taken, even though they couldn't have been really, because there's no way. Oh, another one. A lot of the stuff on Deconsecrate reminds me of Mr. Bungle. Like, and I know that had to have been taken from Mike Patton's kind of style in Mr. Bungle. But it works so well with the Faceless that I don't have as big a gripe with that one. But yeah. Anyway, the next song that comes up is a song that really is just incredible in terms of, like, evolution in the Faceless's music. It's not as good as the Autotheist movement, but it's accelerated evolution, and that's part of what makes me feel like the Devin Townsend influence is there, because, like, Accelerated Evolution is the name of a Devin Townsend album, so it wouldn't surprise me if Michael Keane has some Devin Townsend on his iPod. But this song is just great. The chord progression in the chorus of this song especially just blows me away. It's so good. And the cool thing is it kind of parallels to some stuff that I write sometimes, although it's the Faceless. It's infinitely better. But yeah, just the progression of the riffs and everything, and then how the song kind of ends on that open chord, and the music kind of fades perfectly into the next song, which is the Eidolon Reality, which was the only song we heard off this album for the longest time. And in a way, this song is a perfect bridge between the kind of stuff that's on Planetary Duality into the stuff that's on Autotheism. It's kind of, it feels like it's an in-between song for the styles that are on Planetary Duality and going into Autotheism. But this song is mainly based around the theme in the chorus with a really brutal, almost deathcore-y bridge section in the middle, which made a lot of people think that this album was going to be really more of a return to the style on their first album and more deathcore-y. But no. The Faceless are not a fucking deathcore band. This is pure progressive death metal, pretty much. But yeah, strangely enough, the Eidolon Reality is probably my least favorite song on the album, but I still love it and listen to it all the time. So that just goes to show how much I like this album. Anyway, next song. Oh, and this is another one of those influences that I hear throughout this album. Like, sort of on the intro to Accelerated Evolution, although not really. It's mostly on this song, 10 Billion Years. There's a really industrial kind of thing going on, which is weird, because I had a dream shortly before this album came out that the album cover didn't look like this, and that it instead was like this weird logo in front of this red factory kind of layout, and it said just the Faceless Autotheism, and it was like this weird kind of Nazi industrialist kind of cover. It was so weird. So it's so weird that this kind of had that sound to it at the beginning. But this is definitely the Faceless's slowest, most brooding song that they've written. And it works really well. Just the construction of the song, certain parts. Like, there's this one riff that kind of doesn't really have much going on, like, shredding-wise, but it's just like, and the chords just ring out, and the drum part under that is so good. It just flows, and it all blends really well. The next song, which isn't really a song, so I shouldn't spend too much time talking about this, is Hail Science, but it's interesting, because before this album came out, I was like, oh, Hail Science, that sounds like a cool song. They should release that too, because the Eidolon Reality is the only one that has been released. No, it's not really a song, and they did already release it on that trailer. But I kind of have a gripe, because it's weird that they include the name of the band in this. An age in which the Faceless will have to say, we told you so. Like, don't include your band name in an album. I'm not telling the Faceless what to do, but it just sounds so corny every time it comes up. But then the next song is a lot like Prison Born off the first album, which is easily one of my favorites off the first album, which is cool. And it's the opposite of 10 Billion Years. It gets its shit done quickly, and it fucking goes crazy fast on the riffing and the technicality. It's just a fucking brutal song. And I love the line that goes, the earth is round, so this I know, for irrefutable evidence tells me so, because that's obviously a joke on Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me, you know, that shit. But yeah, my only gripe is that it feels way shorter than Prison Born. But, I mean, that's not too big a gripe. It's still fucking amazing for what it does, even if it only does it in 1 minute and a half. The last song is another song that I feel should be a good indication of what this band is going to be capable of doing further in the future, and that's the song In Solitude. It starts out with a sort of clean vocal over acoustic guitar kind of thing, which is definitely not typical of past the Faceless stuff by any means whatsoever. They just get straight into the brutality, usually, on most of their earlier stuff. But the vocals here, I'm going to quote this guy who said this, because I saw this in another review, but they really do harken back to kind of the vocals that Greg Lake would occasionally do on King Crimson songs, like early King Crimson. He really has that vocal tone in his clean singing on this song. And like I said, just one gripe about it. There's a thing in the beginning, although it's kind of cool, there is a chord that's exactly the same as on 2 Weeks by Strapping Young Lad off their Alien album. It's like do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do, kind of in that beginning acoustic section. It's like exactly the same if you go listen to that song. But then the acoustic does guitar chords with a kind of Meshuggah-y-ish rhythm over it, and then the song just starts. Has a really fucking epic chorus, tons of great chord progressions, and then after that, after the chorus repeats again, it just sort of fades out in this kind of synth-laden wonderiness. Okay, album as a whole. Other than the fact that you could argue that it's not really, in a way, progressive, because, in a sense, what this album does is it kind of combines all of the elements that have been utilized in progressive death metal records in the past. It's got, like, the saxophone solo, it's got the fretless bass, it's got the symphonic stuff, the long structures of things like you'd see on Genesis's Supper's Ready or Yes's Close to the Edge, like stuff that was started back in the early 1970s. It's got that. It's got the trade-off of lead instruments. It's got it all. But in that sense, it's like this stuff has already been done before. So it's not progressive in the sense of forward thinking completely, like the advertisements for this album said. But there are two songs that I think are extremely forward thinking. As I've mentioned before, those songs are Accelerated Evolution and In Solitude, which, other than the title track, are my definite favorites off this album. There is really not one slouch of a song off this album. It's all great. Lyle is doing insanely tight, complex drums as usual. Their bassist, Evan Brewer, is an absolute beast and inspiration. Michael Keane's songwriting, he is at the top of his game here. I think the Autotheist movement is easily the best thing he has ever written. Like, ever. And their new vocalist really fits into the mold well. So, overall rating... Oh, and this is extremely cool. Warning! Life without great music is not cool. Thank you for help keeping it alive. Great music. 9 out of 10. I'll see you guys later.